Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Gemini, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of November. I hope you are well. I'm using the Night Sun Tarot for you today. As some of you might know, I do a prior meditation before I start the camera rolling, using these little coins here, and that's quite interesting that that's done that. And normally I hold the coin in my hand and I just connect with the energy. Today, like, this coin just would not keep still. And I tried to just hold it still like that, and it was just like, nah, need to keep moving. There's a restlessness about your energy which I'm expecting to see reflected in the cards. So let's have a look and see what's going on with you. I have 3 cards for Gemini, please. There's the first one. We have the 8 of Pentacles in your recent past. Current energy, please. Thank you. We have the High Priestess. That's Pisces energy. And thank you. Last one is, I thought it was, it's the 8 of Cups. You're not the only sign to have got that. Aries got it too. We've got the 6 of Cups at the bottom of the deck, right there, and we'll come back to that. I'm just checking, it is the triple goddess we want to use. So let's get some clarifiers. There's definitely some sort of emotional movement for you this month, and I think things have been building towards that for a while for you. It's just like somehow there's just been a switch that's flipped, and now the restlessness is starting to kick in because something's getting ready. Let's have a look and see what it is. Tell me about the 8 of Pentacles. Just heard the fruits of your labours, which is interesting. We've got the 7 of Wands, and we've got the World right there. Tell me about the High Priestess, please. Thank you. We have Page of Wands, very, very much on par with the kind of energy that I'm feeling here, and the Empress, which is Taurus or Libra, depending on how you read. Tell me about the 8 of Cups, please. Wow. We've got the 8 of Cups, clarifying the 8 of Cups. One more, please. Thank you. We have the Magician and the 3 of Swords. Definitely in a transitional state right now. We've got the 3 of Cups at the bottom of the deck here, and the 6 of Cups, 3 of Cups. I mean, there's almost like an amplification there between the two of them. Obviously, double 3 is 6 and all that. But we've got the Hanged Man underneath that 3 of Cups. And the Hanged Man speaks to, it can speak to a number of things. It can speak to a stasis. And I feel like Gemini has been in a stasis. That would fit very well with the energies as I'm feeling them here right now. But it can also talk about a complete change of perspective. And that for you would be like the light going on. Like seeing things from a different perspective and suddenly realising that perhaps there is a way out of the stasis if you haven't put yourself in there deliberately. Throw out the plane. I'll go in a second. But what I just heard was there's a certain amount of undue suffering that you have allowed yourself to participate in, and you're seeing it for what it is and you are releasing it. I mean, that's where this is going. It's letting it go for sure. The very first card that you've got here in your recent past is the 8 of Pentacles. Now, as we know, this is a card of mastery. It talks about working diligently at something in a very committed fashion, in order that you achieve a certain level of mastery over it. It's can be about the acquisition of pentacles, and it can be by extension then about your work and what you do for work, or it can be the way that you work at something, the way that you apply yourself to something. Now we've got the 7 of Wands and the World card here, and the 7 of Wands, it's quite an agitated energy, actually. It is both simultaneously protective and guarded, and those two things are, slightly different. Guarded being more like a defensive sort of energy. But the fact that we've got a child behind this woman here, and we've got all of these invisible assailants, it does feel like there is something protective about this. Now, it could well be that this child here is representative of you, and it can be something that you are protecting about yourself. Or it could be the way that your inner child becomes quite guarded about stuff, quite defensive about stuff when triggered. The thing is, with it coming here, arriving as it has with the World card, which is the end of a cycle, it is a state of completion. The question is whether the Seven of Wands is something that you need to do more of, or whether it is that is coming to an end. Pick up this Celtic tarot here a second and just have a look at this. Wands here. Thank you. 10 of Cups comes flying out straight away. More children depicted on that. And the High Priestess. With the Tower at the bottom of the deck. There's a great feeling of movement. Transience, yes, but the transience is almost kind of suggested at this point rather than actually taking place. Like I said, that kind of fidgety energy, the restless energy that I'm feeling for you here, that there's something that you have been ploughing a great deal of your own personal effort into, something that you have committed yourself to, and it's almost like you're being pushed towards it. And maybe you don't know what the finish line is. Maybe what the world represents here is something that is kind of unknown to you, but is, I would imagine it's being overlooked by your higher self, or whatever you want to term it. Because the Ten of Cups does indicate sometimes family. It indicates a collective. And that could be friends, it could be a group that you belong to almost. But it's like all of your moves have been intuitive. And there's been a great deal of work going on in the background. And although you may not know what the end, like I said, like the end result, the finish line is, there's a sense that you are approaching it. What that looks like, we don't know. And what the new that comes to replace it is, we don't know either. But the energy is starting to rise now. And rather than being defensive or guarded, actually this Seven of Wands just looks like somebody who is working really, really hard. No stone has been left unturned, no shortcut has been taken, everything has been fastidious and very, very active. It's not clear to me where the ending and the beginning is. In so much as it feels like these are two states that are kind of blended into one. So it's not like running a race and, when you get past the checkered flag, you're, okay, I can stop running now. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like at some point there'll be a signal that you can stop being restless and you can stop moving so quickly. But, it's going to be like a firework in the sky or something like that. You just need to keep your eyes peeled and keep plodding on or running, whatever it is that you're doing, until you get to that place. Now, this has all occurred in your recent past. And this tower here doesn't feel actually particularly unpleasant. It feels monumental. It feels like you're trying to make big changes. But it also feels like this isn't just for you. This is for other people too. Like I said, it could be your family. It could be a group of friends. It could be a group that you belong to, a coven even. It could be any of these things. But there's a sense that almost I feel like you're going to fly past the end of the cycle and catch up with yourself later. At some point you'll realise that you've started anew. but it's not terribly clear at this point. Now, when we move into current energy, we've got the High Priestess, Pisces energy, and she often speaks to me of the liminal place anyway, right? She sits between two worlds. She literally has 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And I don't know, I had a whole slew of readings, personal readings, right at the beginning of 2021, that were all Geminis who were all looking to move into some sort of spiritual modality because they had heard the call, yeah, and they were responding. There seems to be something in a similar way that has been activated within you now, as was around the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021. Because the High Priestess is germinating something within you, right? We've got the Page of Wands and we've got this Empress card here. Like I said, that's Taurus or Libra, depending on how you want to read it. But the Page of Wands for me it is not about movement. It is about the excitement prior to movement. It is when your mind starts working overdrive about what it is that you can do, right? The planning for a holiday, something like that, right? I don't actually think you're planning for a holiday at all. I think it's something much, much bigger than that. But that kind of energy, right, where there's that rising excitement, there's anticipation about what you are going to experience and what it is that you're going to do and the way in which you are going to be moving, you know. But it's sitting here with the Empress, who is depicted as pregnant in the Triple Goddess, right? There is a gestation of something new that is you know, the cake is in the oven, it's being baked. It's going to arrive at some point, but not quite yet. It's not quite there yet. But it is sufficiently in existence enough for you to start getting excited about it. Now, whether this is on a purely esoteric level and there's just, I mean, sometimes I get up and I've got a feeling and I'm just, I can't shake it, and I kind of feel a little bit like the Page of Wands, like everything's very exciting, something's going to happen very soon. And I don't know what it is. And then you know, but then there are other examples where it is something like, you know, a holiday or something that you're doing, something that you're launching, some sort of journey that you're intending on going on, where, you know, you're in that highly creative state where you're kind of open. Oh, that's what it is. You're open to some new experiences. But I don't think that you're waiting for the universe to plunk these into your lap. I feel like this is the result of some considerable work that you have been doing to try and bring these about. Yeah. So the card that just flipped there was the Two of Wands. Oh, and we've got another one. What do we have here? Eight of Cups. There's been a conscious decision made here. I mean, that's for sure. We've got the Five of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck here. There's a conscious decision that has been made to leave something behind and go after something else instead. But like I said, there doesn't seem to be a distinct ending and a distinct beginning to that. It's more like one is fading out and the other is fading in. And this could well be something to do with what you are choosing to prioritize at this point. You know, there'll be points in time where something is really, really important to you, and then you get distracted and you go off and start doing something else, and you completely forget for 2 years, or maybe this is just me, that this is something that you were interested in. This is something that at some point really fired you up. You know, that the level of investment that you had in this thing was very, very strong because you got distracted by something else. And then, you know, you take all of that passion and that creativity and that, you know, fire, there's quite a bit of fire here, and you put it into something else. But the same can be said about the way that we process information sometimes as well. So there'll be things that happen, you know, different circumstances that occur that you know in the past, and you will have done it in the past, you know, you might have blown up about it, or you might have reacted in the wrong way. You might have done something that now looking back on it, you would say, no, I don't do that anymore. And see that for the folly that it was. Because there's growth here, true, but it's about the way that there's the conscious internal movements are being played. I get the feeling that you feel like you're being very messy at the moment, Gemini. And actually, it couldn't be further from the truth. You're moving away from something that has been very isolating for you, and that's possibly been self-imposed, right? So whether it's about the way that you think other people see you, or, you know, whatever, I don't feel like it's financial. That's the interesting thing. I don't think it's financial at all. I don't think it's anything to do with your material environment in so much as buying stuff and having things. More it is about the way that you have existed within a group of people. Maybe even the way that you have existed within your own life, where you have been missing for a bit, possibly, some sort of point of focus or some sort of purpose. Because sometimes I get people coming to me and they say, I want to know what my life purpose is. Not so many nowadays as I used to. And they say that, they deliver that statement like there is one sole purpose for every, you know, single human being on the planet, and unless they are completely aligned with that, then they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And actually, I feel like life is a series of life purposes at different times and at different stages in being who you are. These things come in, and sometimes for you, your purpose is to be lost in the fucking darkness. It is to be wandering around the woods and not know where you're going and not know what you're doing because of what you learn in that process. Now, there's something very strong here about suddenly refinding yourself, or at least the direction of travel that would lead to an authentic experience of being Gemini, you know? The Two of Wands is a crossroads. We know this, right? It's about picking one road over the other, but it is a very internal state. It relates very strongly to the High Priestess, because that is number 2 as well. It is about consideration of all things. So, you know, if the High Priestess is sitting in the liminal space, 1 foot in each world, paying attention to this, but also paying attention to that, to the material and the spiritual, you know, the emotional and the mental, then the Two of Wands is asking you what you are going to do to honour whatever bit of the world you happen to be in at this given point. Are you going to honour them both? Is there a way that you can bring these two together? And, you know, perhaps there are material considerations in that. I feel like it's less that than anything else, but, you know, it is what it is. I think this is symbolising the end of that sense of kind of wandering around in circles and not really knowing which way that you're going. It doesn't feel like it's hitting you like the tower, like, my God, here is my life purpose, this is what I want to do. But like everything, like, it's a series of small steps. It's the thing that I dislike about this idea that there is one life purpose for you, and you've got to get into that slipstream, and then you're being what you're supposed to be and doing what you're supposed to do. Because what it does is it ignores all the tiny little steps that you took to get to this place or this place or this place. And maybe you had to be in all 3 of those places at some point in the past before another aspect of something opens up to you. You know, life is a series of tiny decisions all the time, and sometimes we get those big life-changing decisions come up, but almost invariably they are as a result of those tiny little steps that we've made in one direction or another. So you might feel like you're a bit of a hot mess at the moment, like you don't really know whether you're coming or going, but the fact is there's something germinating here. There is a seed, and it is the fruits of your labours. It's not quite here yet, but it's certainly on its way. It's like you're clearing the ground for it, because look at this, we've got the 8 of Cups 3 fucking times here. There is something that you have previously been emotionally invested in that is coming to an end, and it feels like it's happening holistically. It doesn't feel like you've sat down and gone, right, what are all the shit things in my life? Right, I need to take those out altogether. You know, maybe I'm trapped in a relationship that is, you know, pretty loveless, and I can, you know, I would be better off on my own than being stuck here and, you know, being in this poverty-ridden state that I find myself in, you know, spiritually poor, or, you know, emotionally poor, whatever. I don't feel like you sat down and made those decisions. I think that this is a far more holistic, following your intuition, following where your emotion is taking you, and each step that you are taking being a step away from something that there was a previous level of emotional investment in. Now, when I talk about emotional investment, I'm not necessarily talking about other people, or what you do as a job, or what you do as a hobby, or any of those kind of things, or your kids or your friends or whatever. Sometimes we can be incredibly emotionally invested in our identity and who we perceive ourselves to be. That narrative that tells us to expect that things will go wrong because things always do go wrong, right? Because you, for some reason, as a human being, just seem to attract that kind of energy, right? No, that's not useful to you, and I don't feel like that's what's happening here. It feels like you're being washed clean, but it's happening kind of indirectly. It's happening sideways of what it is that you are actually trying to achieve at this point. I mean, look at this: 8 of Cups, 8 of Cups, 8 of Cups. 3 8s there. I mean, granted, they're all the same card, but it's like doubling down on the message over and over again. So what have you been emotionally invested in? Have you been emotionally invested in the idea that you can't do X, Y, and Z? Have you been emotionally invested in the idea that this is all that there is for you now? Because I see you moving away from it. We've got that 3 of Wands, and we have a 3 of Swords there. And the 3 of Swords for me is really interesting because we all know what it means, right, when we see it like that. And yet, why does it make sense that it's the sword suit and not the cups? Emotional pain should be in the realm of the cups suit, right? But it's not. It's depicted as a sword. And for me, it's always been about that point where you realize something, right? Where something gets through to your conscious brain. It's more about the discovery of what it is that has hurt you and the ways in which you are still hurt, rather than the act of whatever it was that hurt you in the first place. Because sometimes these can be death by 1,000 cuts. It can be compounded over decades and decades. And until you notice that loop that had, that all of the pain, minor and major, has been feeding into in your entire life, you don't realize the effect it has had on you. Now, this for me is a Gemini card, and simply because the magician, magicians we associate with abracadabra, right? Now, abracadabra is not just some sort of funny phrase that's been picked up, and invented in the 1940s by TV magicians. It's actually an old... Now, is it Arabic or is it Aramaic? I forget. It's one of the two. And it actually means I create as I speak. And that to me seems to be a very Gemini endeavour, rather than Virgo, which is the other astrological correspondence that goes with this card. Literally creating your reality by speaking it into existence. And is that not what the magician means? And the magician is, you have all the tools that you need to create whatever you want. It's the card of the master manifester. It is about the combination of your will and all of the elements and everything that they represent, working in alignment to create something that you want. The focus here for me, and for you more specifically, seems not to be on that which you are leaving behind, but that which you are trying to sort of bring into being. When we're seeing it here, like the seeds have all been planted, and there's a great excitement, there's a great deal of energy that this thing seems to be taking on in and of itself. But what's happening, and the reason why this is holistic, is because every step towards the magician and the embracing of the magician that you seem to be taking is a step away from something that you had previously invested in that is now no longer for you. The energy of the Tower often is a sudden sharp shock, right? It's something actually kind of unpleasant, generally speaking, because it usually involves a loss somewhere. And that's not usually something that we're terribly happy in experiencing. You know, job losses, breakdowns of relationships, those kind of things. But the Tower is always a positive thing. It's just that we need to catch up with why it's positive a little bit further down the road. Why was I telling you about this? I'm telling you because it feels like the Tower, at some point in the not too distant past, has shaken things up. It has loosened things up for you just a little bit, and it has allowed you to put your energy into something new. And what is happening is, discreetly, you're leaving behind something that isn't about who you are anymore. So whether that is the way that you see yourself, whether that's the way that you're showing up in relationships, whether it is about what you believe that you can manifest for yourself in front of you, given the life experiences and the internal narrative that's chuntering away in there all the time. It's going. You know, we assume that there's a very deliberate moving away of these. Both of these people here, they've got their cloaks on, they've got their staff. You know, they're headed up some steps under the light of the moon or under the light of the eclipse. But what if they just walked straight past those cups without even noticing that they were there? Just emerged from, you know, the little chalet that it appears that there is in the back of this card here. What if they are going to find that 9th cup? And that pull is so very fucking strong that it takes them straight past their pain, straight past the 8 cups that they were previously engaged with, and has them finding themselves. And whenever a card in your sign shows up, it is an authentic expression of your energy. And almost fixes things by accident. That's sort of how this is feeling here, Gemini. You know, in the Night Sun Tarot, we've got you know, what is contained within those 8 cups just turning into smoke. It is just evaporating out. And the really important message about this is that it can always be your choice to move away from something that isn't serving you, that doesn't work for you anymore. You don't have to sit there and you know, physically pour out all of the water that's in the cups. You don't have to examine the cups for you know, for damage and cracks and things like that. You don't need to sit down and make a pro and con list for dispatching with these particular cups. You can just get up and do it. You know, where attention goes, energy flows. And I feel like that's the important thing here for you to take away for November. Because a lot of attention has gone in a very particular area towards a very particular thing. And it has been healing you as you are taking each step away from this cup, these 8 cups, and approaching the magician, the energy of the magician. It's putting you in a very good place to decide what it is that you do want. You know, and we all think that you know, we should have that all sorted by the time we're 18, and that's bollocks. You know, I'm 42 and I'm still trying to work out what the fuck I want. I think I'm getting better at it. But it's taken 30 odd years of practice. Amazing. So we have the 2 of Wands. We do not. We have the 2 of Swords in reverse. And we have the Justice card in the upright. You know, you see what you didn't see before. Moon at the bottom of the deck. And now there's a sense of bringing everything into balance. You know, I think it's almost like a choose your own adventure going on here, interestingly enough. There's books you used to be able to get in the 80s and early 90s in the UK. I don't know if they sold them anywhere else in the world. You'd read the first chapter and then it would give you two options at the end, and if it, you know, if you wanted to fight the dragon, you go to page 32. If you decide to run away and hide behind a rock, you go to page, I don't know, 24 or something like that. And each then, from that point on, you choose which way the story went. And it would end up with you either winning or you know, getting eaten by the dragon at the end, something like that. But I don't even know where this is coming from. It's that sense that if there are to be consequences for your actions, Gemini, you want them to be the consequences of positive actions that you have undertaken, and not things that have happened at you. Right? The difference between being proactive and reactive. Yeah, maybe these 8 cups and the emotional investment contained therein was as a result of reactivity by you, and now you feel to me like you are starting to take control of your existence. It's a strong indication of that. Then now there's this understanding that, you know, who knows how many years we have left on the planet, and if consequences are going to be born whatever, and they always are, then we make sure we're doing everything for the right reasons and for the right end goals. And we're bringing that awareness of self to the decision-making process. This is really interesting, Gemini. I'm not surprised that your energy is really fidgety. It's like it's bouncing off a lot of different themes all at once. All right. I'm going to go to the extended now over at Vimeo, so if you would like to join me over there, you are very, very welcome. The link will be down in the description box. You can come over there and we'll take this apart a little bit and see what's going on there. You could alternatively join my Patreon, not my Patreon, my Circle community. The link for that is also down in the description box. Just a heads up, it seems like if you use Safari browser to try and sign up or log in, you get stuck in an endless loop. So try and use a different browser. But yeah, if you do that, you get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost, which I think is a bit of a bargain. So if neither of those are your bag, know that there's some seismic shifting going on here, and whilst it might not necessarily be reflected in what is right in front of you, it is about the way that you are shifting and changing in order to start approaching the new version of you, the new manifesting version of you. Like I said, it's kind of like clearing house and opening yourself up to new experiences. It's really interesting. Right, I'm going to go, otherwise I'm just going to sit here and keep wearing. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.